is more than a bundle. It's more than a combo deal. It's not just stuff. This is your home, your car. And you want to give them the protection they deserve. With home and auto insurance. State Farm agents get it. It's why they're here.
Talk to State Farm agent Shannon Van in Sallisaw today.
Do you have a project you've needed to get done? Call Allstate Roofing and Construction, specializing in roofing, remodeling, siding, painting, and additions. We are fully insured and licensed. We also give free estimates. Give Allstate Roofing and Construction a call at 479-462-9665 or 918-315-0754 today.
Peters Agency offers Advantage Care Management, home health, and primary care attendant services. Our services to the community are state and nationally certified. We provide medical case management, behavioral health, and Medicare services for the frail, elderly, and disabled in 74 counties in Oklahoma. We plan, obtain, and monitor appropriate services necessary to keep our members safe and independent in their own home. Call Peters Agency today at 775-6555. Care with prayer changes things.
Is this my car?
State Farm knows that for every one of those moments,
This is ridiculous!
there's one of these.
Is this my car? What? This is ridiculous.
This can't be happening!
This can't be happening.
Oh, it's happening, sweetheart.
Oh, it's happening, sweetheart.
Shut up.
Shut up!
That's why State Farm is there, with car insurance for when things go wrong, but also here with car loans to help life go right. State Farm.
Talk to State Farm agent Shannon Van in Sallisaw today.
The earth is our home. It's where we live. It's where our children play. And it's our responsibility to take care of it for future generations. Sue's Recycling and Sanitation is here to help keep our land beautiful. We provide residential and commercial trash service for Sequoyah County. We also offer industrial waste services. Call 918-773-4007 to sign up today.
It's time to relax and do the things you want to do and let Casey Marlatt, CPA, take care of your tax preparation and bookkeeping needs. Call Casey Marlatt, CPA at 918-775-2983 for more information or stop by his office at 2329 East Cherokee, Suite 10 in Sallisaw, Oklahoma. That's Casey Marlatt, CPA, for all your tax preparation and bookkeeping needs.
This is more than a bundle. It's more than a combo deal. It's not just stuff. This is your home, your car. And you want to give them the protection they deserve. With home and auto insurance. State Farm agents get it. It's why they're here.
Talk to State Farm agent Shannon Van in Sallisaw today.
Do you have a project you've needed to get done? Call Allstate Roofing and Construction, specializing in roofing, remodeling, siding, painting, and additions. We are fully insured and licensed. We also give free estimates. Give Allstate Roofing and Construction a call at 479-462-9665 or 918-315-0754 today.
Peters Agency offers Advantage Care Management, home health, and primary care attendant services. Our services to the community are state and nationally certified. We provide medical case management, behavioral health, and Medicare services for the frail, elderly, and disabled in 74 counties in Oklahoma. We plan, obtain, and monitor appropriate services necessary to keep our members safe and independent in their own home. Call Peters Agency today at 775-6555. Care with prayer changes things.
Is this my car?
State Farm knows that for every one of those moments,
This is ridiculous! this my car?
State Farm knows that for every one of those moments,
This is ridiculous!
there's one of these.
Is this my car? What? This is ridiculous.
This can't be happening!
This can't be happening.
Oh, it's happening, sweetheart.
Oh, it's happening, sweetheart.
Shut up.
Shut up!
Ah!
That's why State Farm is there, with car insurance for when things go wrong, but also here with car loans to help life go right. State Farm.
Talk to State Farm agent Shannon Van in Salisaw today.
The earth is our home. It's where we live. It's where our children play. And it's our responsibility to take care of it for future generations. Sue's Recycling and Sanitation is here to help keep our land beautiful. We provide residential and commercial trash service for Sequoyah County. We also offer industrial waste services. Call 918-773-4007 to sign up today.
It's time to relax and do the things you want to do and let Casey Marlatt, CPA, take care of your tax preparation and bookkeeping needs. Call Casey Marlatt, CPA, at 918-775-2983 for more information, or stop by his office at 2329 East Cherokee, Suite 10 in Salisaw, Oklahoma. That's Casey Marlatt, CPA, for all your tax preparation and bookkeeping needs.
Good evening. My name is Jeff Mayo. I'm the publisher of the Sequoyah County Times, and I want to welcome you all to the Cherokee Nation Candidate Forum that is sponsored by the Mix KXMX 105.1 and your Times. This event is being broadcast live on DiamondNet Channel 19, as well as the Mix's Facebook page and the Sequoyah County Times Facebook page and YouTube page. I want to extend a thank you to the Indian Capital Technology Center for allowing us to use their brand new facility. We request that no campaign material be shown during this event. Our moderator tonight is Marley Abel. Mr. Abel is the Senior Vice President of Investment Services for First Star Bank. He currently runs the investment management program for First Star's Salisaw, Roland, and Fort Smith locations. Thank you all for coming here, and I hope to learn with you more about what our candidates and their views are concerning the betterment of the Cherokee Nation. The candidates here tonight are Principal Chief Chuck Hoskin Jr. and Dick Lay. David Walkingstick has been disqualified as a candidate as of a ruling by the Cherokee Nation Election Commission on Friday, and the Cherokee Nation Election Commission Administrator says that he is not currently an eligible candidate. He has appealed that decision. For Deputy Chief, we have Brian Warner, Tribal Counselor, and Meredith Fraley, who is a County Commissioner in Rogers County. Is that correct? Mays County, excuse me. And for District 6 Tribal Council, we have Gary Trad Lattimore, Darrell Legg, and Ron Goff. We'll begin with opening statements that will run up to 3 minutes, and then we'll go into questions response times are 2 minutes each, and then we'll take a break for 3 minutes twice during the event. I'm going to turn it over to Marley Abel now, and we've drawn straws earlier for who's going to start.
All right, thank you very much. We're going to get started now with the opening remarks. You'll have 3 minutes to give your opening remarks, and we're going to start with Councilman Lay.
CO, my name is Dick Lay.
That's the second person on your ballot. Be sure and remember that when you mark your ballot. I am from a small town near Oshaleta, Oklahoma, and that's up in Washington County, south of Bartlesville. And so I've served on the council for 8 years. I've served on the Constitutional Convention in 1999, and I think that I've done a pretty good job as being a counselor for our district and for the Cherokee people overall. Some of the things that we have done while I've been on the council. We formed a coalition of the counselors, and we realized that our satellite healthcare centers weren't complete and needed some upgrades. We started with a lady from Stillwell, we started with a lady from Salisaw, and so the upgrades in the new clinics that you see today started because of a council initiative, and we were very successful doing that. We took the money from gaming proceeds and paid for them in cash, and I know that the clinic up in my area was much needed. We gained 55 new jobs, a lot of them Cherokee and other Native. And those jobs, by the way, in healthcare are just tremendous because these are well-trained people and they make decent money. And doesn't matter if you're in Salisaw, and doesn't matter if you're in Stillwell, Tahlequah, Oshaleta, Nowata, Jay, and Salina, Muskogee. These are where these clinics are at, and these things are complete with good jobs, good paying jobs, and we're very proud of them. On our business side, we do a lot of work, within the communities with our businesses. We take the funding, certain amount of funding, about 37% now, from our businesses, and we take it directly to tribal services. And a lot of that has to do with healthcare. Healthcare is 60% of the budget on the tribe side of the ledger, and it's extremely important. It's not the only thing. The language and culture is important too, and we're looking after that. And so in the end result, I'll give you my name again, Dick Lay. I'm second on the ballot. I appreciate your vote. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Councilman Lay. We'll now move on to the second candidate for chief, Secretary Chuck Hoskin.
OCO, everyone. I am Chuck Hoskin, Jr., candidate for Chief of the Cherokee Nation. I want to thank the Sequoia Times and Mix 105 and ICTC for hosting this important forum. This is an important election. I think we can all agree about that. I want to thank my fellow candidates, including my opponent, Councilman Lay, for the sacrifice that they make to be candidates for public office in the Cherokee Nation. I also want to thank my family, my wife, January, my daughter, Jazzy, my son, my father, all of my family and friends who have been with me during this campaign, my sister, Amy, because you can't be an effective public service unless you have the support of your family and friends. And I certainly have been blessed to have that. This is a critical time for the Cherokee Nation. We have made great strides as a people. We've invested in, I think, the things that the Cherokee people care about. We've invested in healthcare. We've invested in education. We've invested in economic development to create jobs. We have made strides to preserve our language and to make sure Cherokees everywhere can enjoy our culture, learn our history, pass it on to our children. We've started to pave a way for a bright future for the Cherokee people. And the question is, what kind of leadership will we have going forward? I offer the kind of leadership that is experienced and tested. I've been on the council of the Cherokee Nation representing a district in my hometown of Veneta. I served on the Constitutional Convention in 1999. As Secretary of State for the last 5 years, I've had the opportunity to see a lot of progress and to be at the table when we've made critical decisions to invest again in those priority areas, to make strides in healthcare, housing, education, economic development, to make sure we preserve our precious language. But there's certainly more work to be done. The next chief will have a great deal of work to do. The next chief will have a lot of challenges that he has to face. For example, in healthcare, we can be proud of the fact that we invested in healthcare, built new facilities, and are building the largest outpatient healthcare facility in the country. Just today, we broke ground on the OSU Medical School, a great partnership that's going to change the landscape of Indian healthcare in this region, and I believe set an example for the entire country. But there are gaps and there are places that we need to improve. I mean, for example, wait times are too long in our healthcare facilities. We have to step up our efforts to recruit the best and brightest doctors and nurses. We need to put resources on the table to do that. The good news is the negotiations that we engage with the federal government to bring more healthcare dollars to Cherokee Nation means that we're in a position to do that. We just need leadership to get it done. Now, more locally, I think we can look at Sequoyah County as a great example of what Cherokee Nation can do. We can invest in the economy, we can build partnerships, we can do what we've done here to expand access to culture and language programs. We brought Sequoyah Cabin back to the Cherokee Nation right here in this county. I'm proud of that record, and I'll provide leadership going forward. Widow.
Thank you, Secretary Hoskins. We will now move to Deputy Chief and start with Councilman Brian Warner.
Hello, everyone. It's always, as always, it's an honor and a privilege to be here in front of the fine folks here today in Sequoyah County. And you know, I want to thank the Mix and Sequoyah County Times, ICTC for what they're doing here. And as Chuck said, I want to thank each one of the candidates that are here, and I want to thank their family that are out there that have afforded them the opportunity to reach out and to do more and to fulfill whatever it is that's put them here. You know, my wife, Mako, is in the audience. She is a big reason why I'm here, and I've said it many a time. She sets the tone in our household, and it's up to me to maintain that tone, and she's there to remind me of that daily because as today, the first day, official day of summer, a lot of times in Sequoyah County means that your kids are all home a lot of times. And today she had the wonderful opportunity to be there with all three of our sons, Caden, Luke, and Clayton. And I know it was a good time. But but I do want to, you know, it's been an honor and a privilege to serve as District 6 councilman for the last almost 4 years now. In August, it'll be 4 total years. And for me, it's not about what I've done. It's more about what we have done together, what we've been able to accomplish, how the folks have really banded up behind one another and beside one another and lifted me up and helped me to listen to them, listen to their ideas, listen to their concerns, listen to their cares. Sometimes just to have that conversation, and they've taught me a valuable lesson in doing all this, that this is not only done in our home area in Sequoyah County in District 6 and District 5, but this can be done all over the Cherokee Nation and wherever any Cherokee lives, because I've often said I want to be that deputy chief that has your back on your home front, wherever that may be. And for me, one of the most important things, I've got so many people that, you know, I grew up here. I guess you can almost say we migrated here as a family because of Blue Ribbon Downs. You know, my dad was a horse trainer. My grandfather was a horse trainer. I even spent some time training horses on my own and kind of helped put myself through college. But I just want to say that, you know, together, I think in leadership, one of the most important things that you can look at is a balanced individual. And a lot of times that balance is between logic and emotion. And how can they take that forward and connect with the people that are your advisors for what you need to do, not just in your home area, but all throughout the Cherokee Nation. And I think that's important as you look to elect those leaders. And I will respectfully ask for each one of your votes on June 1st. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Warner. We'll now move to Commissioner Fraley.
Good evening. I'm Meredith Fraley, candidate for Deputy Principal Chief. Whenever I was asked to consider running for Deputy Chief, I thought about it for a while, and I was sitting at the house one day and trying to put it all into perspective. And I asked myself, why do we have a Cherokee Nation? You know, the answer is pretty simple. The Cherokee Nation and its history and its culture enriches our lives, our families, and our communities. It gives us a sense of identity and values. Most importantly, it outlines our purpose for being here. And as leaders, we have the responsibility to protect that reason for being here as a sovereign nation and to protect our right of self-determination. And we can more readily provide that protection with Gadugi. That means everyone working together toward a common goal. If I'm fortunate to be your next Deputy Principal Chief, I have the ability and the desire to work beside the next Principal Chief as second in command of the executive branch. And part of it, I believe, those duties means creating the tribe's overall vision, our mission, our goals, our values, our beliefs. And I have the ability to assist in devising strategies and formulating policies to ensure our goals and objectives are met, and I can step in whenever needed as your principal chief. A little bit about myself. I live in Locust Grove in the heart of Mays County, graduated Locust Grove High School and Northeastern State University with a major in business. I taught school, have coached high school volleyball, moved back to in Missouri, moved back to Oklahoma and worked for Kerr-McGee in purchasing and land department. While there, I met W.W. Keeler, who was that time the appointed chief of the Cherokee Nation. And their goal was to hire Cherokees, so he encouraged me to consider working for Phillips Petroleum Company. While at Phillips, I had the privilege to work in research and development, and then was promoted to international. Then I had the opportunity to be associate recreation director with Ken Treadway, who was the Olympic swim coach and the Olympic swim manager for the U.S. Olympic team. Then I served in marketing and sales at CNI, and while there I was encouraged by the employees there to run for tribal council, served in that position for 10 years and was elected speaker. After leaving the tribal council, I ran for county commissioner of Mays County and serve in that capacity today, and also serve as city prosecutor and serve as a representative of board of directors. Sorry.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Fraley. We'll now move on to the candidates for District 6, and we'll start with Mr. Trad Lattimore.
I'd like to say thank you for everyone that joined us tonight and braved the weather. I think the weather's going to miss us. I'm going to be positive about that, but it is a night to be concerned about our loved ones here and there, and have we got everything taken care of. I'm Gary Trad Lattimore. I've taught school at Roland for 26 years. I live out at Aikens. Matter of fact, I live on my family's tribal allotment, something that was very important to my grandfather. And he took me to a lot of events when I was young and insisted that I learn things and culture, and that it mattered, and that Sequoyah County mattered. And I remember he used to take me out to Sequoyah's home. It was Sequoyah's home then. We call it Sequoyah's cabin now. But we always had a good time. We enjoyed ourselves, and he would teach me trees and shrubs, and the trees are the tall ones. I learned that. Past that, I'm not going to claim much horticulture knowledge. But I believe that the Cherokee Nation is ripe with culture and things that are enriching to people's lives. You know, we choose to live in eastern Oklahoma. It's home. And as your representative for District 6, I think there are things we can fix for District 6 that we can make better. We have a unique problem in that eastern Sequoyah County has hospitals in Arkansas. And if you're hurt, if you're in an emergency, those emergency personnel are going to take you to the closest available resource. Well, that creates a problem for Cherokees because it creates a problem with contract health. And all of a sudden, you've had an accident or you've had a health scare, and your emergency provider has taken you into Arkansas, into Fort Smith. They wouldn't take you to Hastings, and now you have to fight with contract health and resubmit and refile. Contract health is the #1 question I get asked about since I've been campaigning. And it is something that I feel like there must be a better solution. There must be a better answer. We have to find it. We just do. We have to find a better solution. Maybe it's insurance, a health insurance policy that we can buy as people. And as my time expires here, I just want to thank you for hearing us out tonight and joining us, and I would humbly ask for your vote. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Lattimore. We'll now move on to Mr. Ron Goff.
OCG. If you don't know what that means in Cherokee, that means how you doing. Instead of saying CO, I say OCG. Okay? My name is Ron Goff. I've lived around this community most of my life. I was born and raised up around Moonshine Road, where they used to call Redbird, and some of you know that, but we moved back in the 50s to where Stokes Smith Stomp Ground is now, the ceremonial grounds. I was raised very culturally, very traditional, spoke my language, and I've learned through our culture that there's 3 things that are very valuable to us. One is value in your community and yourself. When you have value in both of those things, you're striving ahead. But the most important one was solidarity. That means unity of all people. That's what we're talking about here, unity of all people, them here. And I want to commend these people here for stepping up to the plate and running for these positions, because it's not easy, is it, Brian? No, sir, it's not. It's not easy. It takes a lot of money. It takes a lot of time, and that's family time. Okay, guys, you know, you can go through life stuttering and stammering, whatever you want to do, but when you step out and make an effort to help your community or help your people, as these people are doing, and I commend them for doing what they do. Now, I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. I already told you a little bit about my culture. All right, let me tell you, I went to Northwestern State University, majored there. I went to the United States Navy during the Vietnam era. Went back to college and finished up, worked, made a living, but I've been in business myself for almost 50 years. Little 49 years last March we've been in business for ourselves. So during business times, we work with a lot of numbers and a lot of cash and stuff, so I feel like I'm qualified to make a lot of different decisions for this, for our tribe. I believe our tribe is very important to us, not only to me, but to you too. You know, our tribe could slip away into a business, not an organization of tribal members. They could easily slip away into a business. We got to not let that happen, because of the fact we're Cherokees. We're not business people. We are our tribe. But you got to have business involved to sustain these efforts that we got to do for ourselves. I was married for over 50 years to my wonderful wife, passed away last year. Miss her dearly. But there are things, raising children, being married, that takes effort. And if you've been married for very long, you know it takes 2 to make a marriage. It takes a lot of hard work. Well, you're putting that up awful quick. But anyway, I believe that the Cherokee Nation comes first. I've got some things I'd like to say later on, and I probably will. I talk a little bit too much. One time I auctioneered for 14 hours, and I'm not going to talk that long tonight. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Goff. We'll now move on to the final candidate for District 6, Mr. Darrell Legg.
All right, appreciate it, Marley. I appreciate everybody coming out tonight, weathering the storms. I think they're going to hold off for a little bit, but I am Darrell Legg, and I've worked for Cherokee Nation for the last 12 years of my life. I've dedicated my adulthood in serving the Cherokee people. Whenever I got out of college, I was recruited to come to work for Cherokee Nation as a vocational rehabilitation counselor that helped people with disabilities obtain full-time employment. After that, I went to employment training, And then after that, I went to job developer. Then I was promoted to Director of Vocational Programs, where I was the director of over 13 different federal and tribal programs in excess of over $25 million. During that time, we never had a bad audit. So I am proven in that fact that I know how to manage our money, and I'm very frugal with our money. As a matter of fact, I'm smart with our spending. Then I got promoted to economic development. During my time in economic development, there was a need for prisoners when they were getting out of prison to find employment. And then the tribe allowed me to create the Coming Home Reentry Program with the council's approval. And from there, we had one of the top prison reentry programs in the United States. Matter of fact, it was so effective, I got honored by the President of the United States, received an award called the Champions of Change for my efforts for reentry to employment. Now, that same year, I was also elected as the Cherokee Nation National Statesman of the Year, which was an extreme honor for me, which basically means that as I was going out to the United States and different states and different tribes doing best practices, I had full authority with the tribe to say what I want to say on their behalf, and they had that trust in me. So I just really would like to continue serving my people. 30 seconds. I'm so passionate about what I do, and I can't help it. Every day that I'm at work, today, I work for the American Indian Resource Center, helping Native American youth get their grade point averages up and their ACT scores up. And every day I get calls from Cherokee citizens needing help. And if I can help them, I do, and if I can't, I send them right over here to Brian Warner. I just have a passion for our folks, and I'm very sincere, and I would like to continue to serve our people. Wado.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Legg. We'll now move on to our first question, and we're going to start the questions this time with the Deputy Chief race, and the first question will be for Commissioner Fraley. What do you feel are the three most important issues facing our communities here in rural Oklahoma that the Cherokee Nation should be helping to solve? If you would, please go to the podium. I suppose we could pass the mic down. Might mess with our cameraman in the back. But
one is business and economic development. For instance, when I was coming down here, I came by Blue Ribbon Downs, and I thought, well, I remember when horse racing was really a lucrative activity, I guess you'd call it, and but it doesn't seem to be that way today to sustain the activity center there. I believe we can diversify that center by bringing in, for instance, in Mays County, we've started a BMX track, and that is becoming very, very popular. Also, there's a gentleman who works for me in the county who organizes team ropings. All we'd have to do is build some chutes out there, and I think that's one way of diversifying that activity center. Secondly is health care. A lot of our citizens, as Mr. Hoskins said, they're having to wait long lines before they can be served. I think we can organize a focus group to develop a plan to overcome those wait times and to provide excellent health care for our citizens. And thirdly is housing. We really need to build more homes or else develop some type of a program like the mortgage assistance program where people can get into good homes. And those are probably the three major issues all over the Cherokee Nation, not just here. Quit holding those signs up.
All right, thank you very much. Next we'll go to Councilman Warner. Do you need me to repeat the question? Or?
Yeah, I'm good, Marley. Okay. Thank you. Yep, yes, sir. All right, well, for me, and living here in rural Oklahoma my whole life, I definitely look at things as economic development you look at healthcare, and one of the big things that you currently look at, and you can tie this to healthcare if you'd like, but it's behavioral health, and we all know about the opioid crisis and the different things like that and some of the deficiencies that we have all across the state and everywhere. But when you tether those three things together, I think undergirded of all of that has to be education. And and I know you said for three, but that education that spawns out into all those, because when we look at economic development here in this area and any other area, you have to know what's currently going on. You have to know what's the vision of the people that live in that community. How can I be a valuable resource to that trajectory, whether it be developing, whether it be small business development, entrepreneurship, whether it be bringing in more jobs. And I think you have to take a look at the city, the community. You have to look at their infrastructure, what they have, what are some of the things that you may have to strategically look at in order to get these things accomplished. And in healthcare, I think one of the things that we see, we've talked patient wait times. That's something that's always important. But I also hear a lot of things about elder care. I hear a lot of things about patient advocates, case management, things that help people when they're outside of the clinic. And we look at public health and those things. And when you think about public health, that you're outside of that clinical setting more than you are there. So how can we get as healthy as we can before we get back to that clinic? But we always have to make sure that our elders have those patient advocates. And I think that, and when we look at that behavioral health on the opioid crisis, I've talked to several in the last weeks that want to bring together some peer counseling groups, that people that have that life experience. They may not have the degree in counseling, but they do have that life experience. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Councilman Warner. We'll now move on to the candidates for District 6, and we will start this time with Mr. Ron Goff. And I will repeat the question. What do you feel are the three most important issues facing our communities here in rural Oklahoma that the Cherokee Nation should be helping to solve?
Three issues. Healthcare is always a priority. Behavioral health can be tied right into there with it. A little bit about behavioral health. I think it needs to be expanded. I think there needs to be more funding for it, more people helping it. I know that there's a lot of people on the wait list for behavioral health. My gosh, we can go into healthcare, and we got a lot of issues there. I'm not saying healthcare is bad. Matter of fact, we got a good healthcare system, I believe. But there's always improvements to be made in any kind of program that you have. There's always been programs there that, wait time, that's a big issue. Contract health, that's a big issue. Elder care, and I'm going to get into that's one of my other topics too, is elder care. But prescription drugs, there's a lot of little issues in healthcare that needs improvement. I'm not going to tell you what those improvements are because I don't have enough time. He's got a deal there he's going to hold up here in about 15 seconds. But anyway, education, my gosh, education. These people that we're sending to college, trade schools, and universities is our future, your future. It's all of our futures that they're going to be right behind us, and we need to support those people. We need to put them more funding, give them some programs, some incentives. Does that make sense? Yeah. Elder care. Elder care is a big one now. Guys, there's rehab deals for elder care in their homes. They're because they can't do it themselves. They need programs, and he's holding on that sign again. And but there's a lot of programs in elder care that needs to be improved on, and they need the knowledge on those programs. Sometimes, they don't know. So we need to have a system to educate them. Hold up another one. But anyway, we need that system to help these people to be educated in what's available to them out there. Some of these people in distant places up here in Nycut and Belfont and they don't know some of these things. Vote for me, please.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Goff. If you'll yell sold, he might stop holding those up. If you'll yell sold, he might stop holding those up. All right. We'll move on to Mr. Dale Legg this time. No, Mr. Legg.
Well, definitely, I think the three biggest things for me personally would be keeping our language alive. Right now, we have less than 2,000 speakers, fluent speakers in the Cherokee Nation with a population of 350,000 Cherokees, and that's not acceptable. Definitely healthcare. But you know, guys, I can remember whenever we had a little bitty old shack over here where the casino was, and we'd have to sit there till 8 o'clock in the morning till about 3:30 in the evening until that one doctor could see us. And I think that we've went leaps and bounds in our healthcare system. The problem is that we still have 1.3 million people serving or going and being seen every year in our clinics. 18,000 of those go to behavioral health. And if you think getting in to see a doctor's hard, try to go in and see a drug counselor. It takes forever. And then if you need an emergency services, they put you off 2 weeks before you can even do your assessment. So yeah, healthcare in a whole, but definitely I want a long-term adult drug rehabilitation center. I don't care if it's in Sallisaw. I think it needs to be somewhere where we can send our Cherokee folks that has a cultural emphasis and do some cultural healing. You know, I was part of the opioid task force with Cherokee Nation, and I got to see a lot of this stuff firsthand. I was on HBO Vice, New York Times, the Washington Post. I can't even name all the publications that were interviewing us, and we are in the midst of a major crisis with over 20,000 something deaths a year, and that may be short shooting it. The other one would be definitely try to get something revitalized out there, Blue Ribbon Downs for Sallisaw and Sequoyah County and this whole surrounding area. It was like 350 jobs when it was thriving, and just the residual effect of the things that were going on were phenomenal. So thank you. What else?
All right, thank you, Mr. Legg. We'll now move on to the third candidate for District 6, Mr. Trad Lattimore.
When you address problems that the county faces, you have to take them from a whole approach. It's not just one thing that we can fix. It's healthcare, yes. It's education, yes. It's opportunities, yes. But all of those things stem back to poverty, and they stem back to helping people find the resources they need. Blue Ribbon Downs has lots of empty space. Why can't we attract Google or attract Amazon or attract FedEx or UPS? We've already got UPS. We could expand it. And, you know, we can create jobs. And I don't think that it would threaten Blue Ribbon Downs as a track and as a training facility. That, and matter of fact, I think that could be expanded and that could be helped by more activity and more income. It's a overall situation. We have to create jobs, we have to create opportunities, we have to have the health care. Something I think would help this community, Sequoyah County, is improved communications. We live in a modern world, and we need better cell service. We need better communication with internet and communication with computers, and lots of jobs these days are not going to be brick and mortar jobs. They're going to be electronic jobs that can be done from lots of different places, and it would bring opportunity into the far corners of the Cherokee Nation if we took it upon ourselves to improve the infrastructure. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Lattimore. We'll now move on to the candidates for Chief, and we will start this time with Secretary Hoskin. And I'll repeat the question while he's walking up. What do you feel are the three most important issues facing our communities here in rural Oklahoma that the Cherokee Nation should be helping to solve?
Well, thank you. Certainly the next chief is going to have more than three issues on his plate, not only for Sequoyah County, but for the entire Cherokee Nation. But I would have to say healthcare is the most important across the Cherokee Nation, including Sequoyah County. Certainly economic development is important to the nation. It's important to Sequoyah County. And preserving our language and culture, not just preserving it, but making sure that it thrives, particularly saving our language. So with respect to healthcare, we have a tremendous opportunity if we have the right leadership. The opportunity that we have is that we built up the infrastructure of our healthcare system, including Redbird Smith and the other facilities that we've made, the largest outpatient facility in the country for Native Americans we are building in Tahlequah. And our negotiations, while I was Secretary of State, led to $100 million a year into our healthcare system beginning in just a few months as we open the door on that facility. That is going to open not just the door of the facility, but it's going to open the door in a great opportunity, which means we can harness those resources to do something important, which means recruiting more doctors, recruiting more nurses, paying them what the market commands so that we don't lose the best and the brightest to other systems. That's one of the issues we have with wait times. And of course, with the Oklahoma State University Medical School, that is a tremendous opportunity. The next chief ought to take it as his responsibility to help inspire a new generation of doctors and nurses among our own people. The young Cherokees growing up today in Sequoyah County and across the Cherokee Nation, even across the country, there's a lot of talent out there. They can be the doctors of tomorrow. So we have opportunities with healthcare. We need leadership to get it done, to harness these resources to decrease patient wait time and do things like address the opioid issue. With respect to economic development, I don't have to look very far to get a good example of how to develop the economy in Sequoyah County. I just have to look to my right. Councilman Warner, my running mate, he's developed partnerships in this county that have led to job creation, including the new Veteran Center. If we look at what we're doing in Sequoyah County and we can replicate that across the Cherokee Nation, we will be moving in a great direction. Language and culture, very important. We have a great treasure of language speakers in this county. We need to utilize them to train the speakers of tomorrow. Whatever.
Thank you, Secretary Hoskin. All right, we'll move on to the second question, and we'll start this time with the candidates for district. Oh, I'm so sorry. I think I do that every forum. I don't know why they keep asking me to do this. We'll now move on to the second candidate for chief, Councilman Lay.
Could you repeat that question?
I will.
Lost all train of thought.
What do you feel are the three most important issues facing our communities here in rural Oklahoma that the Cherokee Nation should be helping to solve?
Well, I think each candidate that's sitting here with me on this panel today, the first thing will be health care, and then education and jobs. And I throw the language into that educational component because we're losing them. I think we lost 7 last month, they told us at committee meeting. We're not replacing them quickly enough. Let me talk to you about health care. And so I was speaking about the health care initiative the council did, and it included Janelle Lattimore Fulbright from this area. She's not with us anymore. She was a strong, you should see her and the chief go after each other once in a while. It was good. But she was a strong component of the healthcare facilities that you now enjoy at Redbird Smith. We rehabbed the old building. Remember that? It had mold. We built a new building, and because of Councilman Warner, we renamed a building after Janelle, and I think that was very fitting. The healthcare system, I'll just go ahead and say it. I've been through 7 executive medical directors in 8 years on the council. I don't know that that's good leadership. They all tried. Each one of them tried hard. They wanted to be successful. We've got a good man in there now, and he's trying hard, but I know that he's hoping that the next new hire is his replacement. It's a tough job. It's a tough job. We've lost a person that could do that job. I don't know what happened, but I guarantee you if I'm elected chief, I'm going to go get that person back because he could run the healthcare system. He's the one that brought aboard all these wonderful things that we're talking about in Tahlequah, the 469,000 square foot building, the $100 million a year, and everybody else ran the stop sign, so I will too. And God bless you all. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilman Lay, and I apologize for cutting you short there. We'll move on to question 2, and we're going to start this time with the District 6 candidates. And first up will be Mr. Darrell Egg. Question's a little bit long, so bear with me. Since the approval of pari-mutuel gambling was approved in 1985, Sallisaw began a successful run at growth and tourism around the Blue Ribbon Downs racetrack. It was not uncommon for 30,000 people to come to Sallisaw on a race weekend. In the early 2000s, the track fell in hard times. It was bought by the Choctaw Nation, where gaming machines were added and race days were taken away. Then in December of 2009, the track was bought by the Cherokee Nation. The chief at the time said no racing would occur at the track. It has been underutilized as a training track ever since. There's no doubt that a key to Sallisaw and Sequoyah County's economic development is tied to that racetrack. What plans do you have for making the racetrack into more than it is today?
Next question.
Would you like me to repeat the question?
I'll be honest with you. You know, I would love to see an event center, something along that lines out there. I've seen several different event centers throughout, I think it was Ada, Oklahoma. I went on a tour through Shawnee, Chickasha. I think that it would help our motel and hotel taxes here because we could have long 3-week events going on where everybody would either have to utilize our hotels or we could have an RV park out there where that parking lot is. I hate seeing it set dormant, and it's not totally dormant. They are getting use out of it, and I think Cherokee Nation is really throwing the community a bone by just keeping it open for it to be a timing track and letting people train there. Cherokee Nation could close it down, just try to sell it if they wanted to, but they are trying to help in some way. But guys, we got some of the smartest business people in the world working on trying to come up with a great idea for that track, and they're not just going to throw anything at it. They're going to wait till the right thing comes along, and we have the ability to invest in that. We do, but we got some of the brightest minds that there is with CMB. A lot of folks have come in that were popular people that wanted to buy it. They didn't want it. For some reason, it ain't worked. It didn't work back then. It didn't work when the Choctaws had it. But there may be some light at the end of the tunnel. There's some ideas going around. But I'm not going to sit up here and act like I'm an expert on horse racing, that's for sure. But there is a reason why it's closed. But I would like to see an event center to where everybody in this community could go out there and enjoy it. We could have different bull riding events. We could probably have calf roping, team roping. But all them things last about 3 full weeks in a row, and I think it would help the tourism, and I would think it would help us with our motel hotel taxes for Salas, Oklahoma. Well done.
Thank you, Mr. Legg. We'll now move on to Mr. Trad Lattimore.
Well, as I've said, I think that Blue Ribbon Downs has lots of space and lots of undeveloped land that we could be using for commercial activities, for large-scale employment that bring in real jobs and bring in opportunities for people to own homes and for people to live their daily lives in a prosperous and successful environment. But as far as the track itself goes, I think it has to look at itself as a training facility and a facility that supports other tracks. Even other tracks in other places are struggling at times, and it's just the nature of our culture, I think. But I think that any development there would be a plus, and it would be an improvement to what's going on with the racing track. There are things that can be developed and ideas that center around the need for a large outdoor space that could bring in new opportunities and new jobs, and not just racing.
Thank you very much. And we'll move on to the final candidate for District 6, Mr. Ron Goff.
I have done a lot of research on this track in the past couple of years. I know a lot of the horsemen, I know a lot of the trainers, I know a bunch of them. Matter of fact, you're going to see some ads coming up in the paper where the horsemen and the cowboys are supporting me or helping me. I have talked to the horsemen and the trainers and this sort of thing in the last couple of years, and Daryl's not far away from what we've been talking about. Advertising horse racing by itself is not going to work. It's not going to work, and they know that. And I had a little group of horsemen, and they're very well-known horsemen, and you probably know Rex Brooks, Robert Whitmire, and some of these guys have been in horse racing for years and years. They're leading trainers, they're leading owners and stuff, and they all agree with me. Horse racing cannot be advertised by itself or because it won't work. But the event center, like Mr. Legg has talked about, will. But you've got to have a lot of events going on. You have to have bull ridings, careful, what he's talking about. But you can have big name entertainment. You know, you can have Toby Keith here. You can have Reba McEntire here. Big name entertainers. I know people right here will go into Dallas to see a concert. They travel all the way down to Dallas, spend 2 nights down there, and travel back. They can do the same thing right here. Okay, you got to tag horse racing at the end of it. You can still have horse racing here, but it's got to be tagged at the end. It can't be the front liner because it won't work. And all of these horse racers agree with me. They agree with me. They say that's the only way it will work. It's got to be at the end. You can have race days at the end where you'll be tagged behind a couple big events. And you can get your days and so forth, but you can have split days too, okay? But that's what's in plan. That's what we want to plan for horse racing or the track itself out there. But I have done my research, guys. I have done my research over the last couple of years. Appreciate you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Goff. We're now going to take a quick 3-minute break. We have commercials, believe it or not. So we'll take a quick 3 minutes, and we'll be back shortly. Thank you.
This is more than a bundle. It's more than a combo deal. It's not just stuff. This is your home, your car. And you want to give them the protection they deserve. With home and auto insurance. State Farm agents get it. It's why they're here.
Talk to State Farm agent Shannon Van in Sallisaw today.
Do you have a project you've needed to get done? Call Allstate Roofing and Construction, specializing in roofing, remodeling, siding, painting, and additions. We are fully insured and licensed. We also give free estimates. Give Allstate Roofing and Construction a call at 479-462-9665 or 918-315-0754 today.
Peters Agency offers Advantage Care Management, home health, and primary care attendant services. Our services to the community are state and nationally certified. We provide medical case management, behavioral health, and Medicare services for the frail, elderly, and disabled in 74 counties in Oklahoma. We plan, obtain, and monitor appropriate services necessary to keep our members safe and independent in their own home. Call Peters Agency today at 775-6555. Care with prayer changes things.
Is this my car?
State Farm knows that for every one of those moments,
This is ridiculous!
there's one of these.
Is this my car? What? This is ridiculous.
This can't be happening!
This can't be happening.
Oh, it's happening, sweetheart.
Oh, it's happening, sweetheart.
Shut up!
Shut up!
That's why State Farm is there, with car insurance for when things go wrong, but also here with car loans to help life go right. State Farm.
Talk to State Farm agent Shannon Van in Sallisaw today.
The earth is our home. It's where we live. It's where our children play. And it's our responsibility to take care of it for future generations. Sue's Recycling and Sanitation is here to help keep our land beautiful. We provide residential and commercial trash service for Sequoyah County. We also offer industrial waste services. Call 918-773-4007 to sign up today.
It's time to relax and do the things you want to do and let Casey Marlatt, CPA, take care of your tax preparation and bookkeeping needs. Call Casey Marlatt, CPA, at 918-775-2983 for more information or stop by his office at 2329 East Cherokee, Suite 10 in Sallisaw, Oklahoma. That's Casey Marlatt, CPA, for all your tax preparation and bookkeeping needs.
This is more than a bundle. It's more than a combo deal. It's not just stuff. This is your home, your car. And you want to give them the protection they deserve. With home and auto insurance. State Farm agents get it. It's why they're here.
Talk to State Farm agent Shannon Van in Sallisaw today.
Do you have a project you've needed to get done? Call Allstate Roofing and Construction, specializing in roofing, remodeling, siding, painting, and additions. We are fully insured and licensed. We also give free estimates. Give Allstate Roofing and Construction a call at 479-462-9665 or 918-315-0754 today.
We're going to move on with question 2, and we'll now move with the candidates for chief. And I'm going to repeat just the gist part of the question since it was kind of long. Let's see, Councilman Lay, you'll be the first to answer this time. There's no doubt that a key to Sallisaw and Sequoyah County's economic development have been tied to the track for about 4 decades. What plans do you have for making the track into something more than it is today?
Well, it's a good question, and as people from this area have mentioned, trying to do strictly a racetrack just won't work in today's environment. At Claremore, it's a racino, to give you a comparison. It's not on trust land. It's known as a racino. We have a certain amount of number of slots inside the building, while we also run horse races. And there's no guy in the world that likes to see horses run besides me, but you can't just continue to do it and lose money every day. And so it's a certain amount of jobs. It's a good property. I don't know why we haven't done something with it. We have several large properties. We seem to be kind of forgetting about them and doing the gaming, and that's good because gaming makes a lot of money. And they put a lot of, all of the clinics, and the new clinic at Tahlequah came from gaming funds, and so that's important. But it's also important to go to the rural communities and try to establish jobs, and that could be done. I've heard several good examples here. Ron had some good examples. An event center, that takes a lot of money up front. But if we believe that it'll work, then it's worth it. We've got a lot of smart business guys who sit around dreaming this stuff up. So far, none of them has ever stepped up to any of us on the council and said, this will work at Sallisaw. And so I'm waiting for that to happen. And when it does happen, that's when we'll go with it. That's my answer. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Councilman Lay. We'll move on now to the Secretary Hoskin.
Thank you. As Chief of the Cherokee Nation, I would never close my mind to the idea of racing in Sallisaw at Blue Ribbon Downs. But as has been pointed out, the viability of that is something that's not been established. I think any business investment that the Cherokee Nation makes needs to be made with an eye towards viability and sustainability. And so I believe that we need to develop that property. And ideas have been mentioned. And, it was a few months ago that my running mate and I visited with city leaders to talk about what could be the future of that property. And part of it included an outdoor arena. We've heard about perhaps an event center. I mean, those are ideas that I think we need to take a serious look at. The question isn't whether there's good ideas out there for the property, because there are plenty of good ideas out there that ought to be tested. The question is whether we can evaluate them and determine what's sustainable. And here's the next thing, and this is indispensable to leadership in the Cherokee Nation, is you need to have experience building partnerships. And that's one of the reasons that I asked Brian Warner to be my running mate. His track record locally is very good. I mean, you can look at what happened with the Veteran Center that came in. That took partnerships. You can look at other things that have happened in this county where there's been some spike in economic development. It happens because we have leadership and we have partnerships. He's demonstrated that. So I think if we are to find a solution to what to do with Blue Ribbon Downs, I do think it should center around attracting people to the area, an event center or an outdoor arena. But the other thing is we have to continue to develop this economy. As we create more jobs in this economy, those kind of ideas start to make more sense. So Brian Warner and I will have a focus on rural communities. That includes Sequoyah County. It certainly includes Sallisaw, where I think we have great assets here, great resources here. We just need the leadership to develop them, and that's what I hope to provide as Chief of the Cherokee Nation.
All right. Thank you, Secretary Hoskins. We'll now move on to the 2 candidates for Deputy Chief, and this time we will start with Councilman Warner. There's no doubt that a key to Sallisaw and Sequoyah County's economic development is tied to the racetrack. What plans do you have for making the racetrack into something more than it is today?
Well, and, you know, we talked about nearly 4 decades. I'm 42, and I grew up at that racetrack. I was raised at that racetrack. The people that Ron spoke about helped raise me, along with my mother and my father, and my wife was raised at that racetrack. Now, so I think it takes an understanding, and somebody that was in the business not too long ago myself, training racehorses and running in primarily in Oklahoma City and Sallisaw and down in Texas. We traveled to Iowa and California. And you start to look at the landscape, you need to understand that today they're correct. All the tracks that are successful are tethered to a casino. And that's some of the most important things that you do. But you want to have a deeper understanding of how they bring races here. Folks, you've got to have a relationship with the Oklahoma Horse Racing Commission, and you have to have a relationship with the Oklahoma Horse Racing Association. 2 different governing bodies that decide where's the money coming from for purses, where are these things. So while we're talking about these and I went and visited with them just recently, and I wish that I could give you a glimpse of some of the meetings that I've had on economic development and so forth within this county. There's some things that we can mention. There's some things that we can on the possibilities that are already out there sitting. I sit on the SIC board, Sallisaw Improvement Corporation. We're the economic development authority for Sallisaw and the area. And I think there's some things on the horizon that we look at that are very important, but we have to know how can we tether these things together. And yes, when the state chamber was in town, we took them out there to show them the viability of the land. There's over 200 acres. Where the old haul-in barn used to sit, there's 60 acres sitting over there, with about 1,600 feet away is the sewer infrastructure that needs to be pulled in. So there's some of those things, and we have talked about outdoor activities and all these things, and I'm a believer in building up around that to help sustain that property, and then we look at going on and bringing back races if we can. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Warner. We'll now move on to Commissioner Fraley.
Okay, repeat it again.
All right. There's no doubt that a key to Sallisaw and Sequoyah County's economic development is tied to the racetrack. What plans do you have for making the track into something more than it is today?
I think the first thing we probably need to do is take an inventory of what makes us a tribe and what industries make the most sense for a diversified activity out there, like I mentioned earlier. But if we restructure everything, we've got to think beyond our current cash flow. There is an abundance of very advantageous development deals for corporate America to explore with us at this time in our nation's history. And we need to leverage our advantages in this area to create new economic and job opportunities for our people. But we have to start with a feasibility study to ensure that we choose the right industry for that activity center and for this county, well, for the Cherokee Nation. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Fraley. We'll now move on to question 3, and we will start this with the candidates for chief. And Secretary Hoskin will be the first this time. This question is, currently, Cherokee tribal members cannot seek emergency medical attention in Sequoyah County, but must travel to Tahlequah to W.W. Hastings Hospital for immediate medical attention, which can include both a long drive and a long wait time. With so many improvements being made to the Tahlequah facility, which is good, will there ever come a time when tribal members who live to the far east have a hospital or an emergency care facility, or a way to seek immediate health care from nearby facilities without the problems associated with contract health?
Well, certainly there's a couple of challenges that have been identified there. One is the wait times that you experience when you access our facilities, including Hastings, on an emergency basis. And the other, of course, is the unique problem of being in the eastern part of Sequoyah County and accessing emergency health care outside of our system. So with respect to wait times, we have a tremendous opportunity because the $100 million that we negotiated with the federal government for the new outpatient facility, yes, it's in Tahlequah, but that is a tremendous infusion of new operating dollars into our system. It's going to enable us to hire more As my running mate pointed out earlier, other professionals, including case managers. And so when we do that, and when we leverage the opportunity we have with OSU Medical School to grow our own doctors, to have more doctors in our system, what we do is we reduce wait times. And that's just part of the problem, but that will help significantly with a visit to Hastings, whether it's on an emergency basis or whether it's on an outpatient basis or any other service that you need. More doctors and nurses. Keeping the best and brightest will reduce those wait times. With respect to living close to the border and being taken to a hospital in Arkansas, hospital in Fort Smith, that's the other thing we need to do for the entire nation is cut through red tape on contract health. And I think we have opportunities to do that. I think the next chief needs to take a top-down look at what we do with contract health. I've been around on the council and as Secretary of State. It does seem to me that we can operate in a more efficient manner. And I think we particularly need to look, if we have a population that's experienced a unique difficulty, as is happening with folks in eastern Sequoyah County, I think we need to take a look at seeing if we can streamline it, particularly for them, because people that have to go to that emergency room and then have to deal with their contract health system, they need leadership that's in their corner, and I certainly will take a look at that, and I know my running mate and I both take that kind of issue very serious, and it's a high priority for us. Widow.
Thank you, Secretary Hoskin. We'll now move on to Councilman Lay.
And boy, what a question. And it never ceases to amaze me when talking to the counselors from Sequoyah County that their problems are my problems. They're exactly the same thing. How do I get my people to either Claremore or Hastings in an emergency situation? And the same thing has happened here, obviously. They take you to Arkansas. They take us usually to Jane Phillips or to St. Francis or some of those areas. And then you go through the contract health runaround. And some of y'all, if your families have ever been through that, it's not easy. By the way, I keep the contract health representative on speed dial. And I get those calls. I'm sure Brian gets those calls. Anybody who's on the council, I guarantee you gets those calls. I probably get as much or many as anyone, and it is a problem. And so either one of two things, the contract health has to work correctly, or we're going to have to do our own ambulance services. And so we do some of that around Tahlequah. But here again, if you're really in an emergency situation, do you want to go from almost Arkansas all the way to Tahlequah, W.W. Hastings? You may not have that much time. That's why they take you to Arkansas. That's why they take us to Jane Phillips at Bartlesville or to St. John's. And then the argument starts. You all know those arguments. I see some of you shaking your head yes here. And so here again, I keep the contract referral health specialist on speed dial. Call him several times a week, sometimes several times a day. We need to work on that. As your chief, I will work on that. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Councilman Lay. We'll now move to the deputy chief candidates, and this time we will start with Commissioner Fraley.
These same healthcare issues were prevalent whenever I was on the council several years ago. And I tend to agree with Mr. Hoskin to a certain extent, but I think it has to start with our healthcare leaders. Form a group of our healthcare leaders, determine what our weaknesses are, and then develop a plan based on that focus group. And then like here, I don't think you have urgent care here, do you? Here in the clinic here. Do we need that in all of our clinics? That's another topic for feasibility study. So I'm real big on forming focus groups among those that are experts in their fields. And I believe we need to start with the employees and and get their ideas and go from there.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Fraley. Move on to Councilman Warner.
I'm good. Thank you, Marley. Well, I like to dare to dream big. And in 2015, I've got several calls from, at that time, Sequoia Memorial, from the CEO, Miss Debbie Kanoki, and they were having trouble with the local hospital. So immediately I called Chief, and he directed me to call Secretary of State, Chuck Hoskin Jr. So we put together a group of individuals, healthcare leaders, contract health leaders, people from our community, and we all sat down at a table and we figured out a way to help keep Sequoia Memorial in Sequoia County, because it's one of the key components of the economic development strategy in Sequoia County. Ask the VA clinic and everybody that's coming with that. But my whole thing for me, though, was I know the percentage of denials from contract health is large here. At that time, it was around 33% for contract health, because it is closer, and a lot of things about, well, just take me to Sparks at that time, which is Baptist now, take me to Mercy. But in this time since that, we did enough to keep it here, but a management company came in, a management team, Northeast Health System. So it's now known as Northeast Health System Sequoia. And until we look at these feasibility studies about getting urgent care here through the tribe, I've taken it upon myself and many other leaders to sit down at the table. I now serve on the Board of Trustees for Northeast Health System Sequoia, and we've sat down, and I dare to dream big that how can we come together with a partnership to Northeast Health System to help our Cherokees here like Hastings helps our individuals in the middle of the Cherokee Nation. How can we do these things to come together? How can we look at a situation like Cherokee Nation Health Partners and the different things that offer through the partnership between Northeast Health System and the Cherokee Nation? Those are things that I dare to dream big on, and one day I just see this idea of our Cherokees walking into that system and not having a bill when they come out. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Councilman Warner. And we'll move to the candidates for District 6, and this time we will start with Mr. Trad Lattimore.
I think it's a simple solution, really. If you think about insurance, most insurance systems today have approved service providers. We can sit down with Baptist, we can sit down with Mercy, we can sit down with the health entities that we continue to have billing issues with, that Eastern Oklahoma, Eastern Sequoia County definitely is going to have Baptist and Mercy, and we can be partners. We can approve service providers, and that's much like what Brian was saying, that we can partnership with the existing facilities that are already here, that are already available, that are close, that can be something that it's not every day, but in an emergency situation, it is approved. It's already done. We've already been down that road. We've already worked that out behind the scenes, diplomatically, through channels with government. That's what government does. It provides solutions to common everyday problems. Something else I think we need is, I think that all resource centers, like Rural Communities Initiative, I think all the resource centers for the area, for the county, should have an access to a helicopter pad, because a lot of people in an emergency situation would benefit from that, and it's a very, very minimal expense. It goes into a little bit of paperwork, and from there it's simple.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Lattimore. We'll now move to Mr. Ron Goff.
Okay. I'm going to tell you a little personal experience of what's going on here. Contract health, that's going to be involved in here. Do we need a facility down here or a partnership with a facility down here, whether it's in Arkansas, Podo, or wherever it might be? Yeah, we do. But let me tell you a little bit, I'm not an expertise on this stuff yet, but I will be. Let me tell you a little thing happened to me. A few years ago, I was working out behind my house. I like to cut off that thumb. If you look at them, they're different. They're different. I go to a Sequoia Memorial. They stopped the bleeding, but they said I had to go to over to Mercy to get it put back on. Okay, so they put it back on for me. They said I never use it again, but I do. Okay, now I go up to Tahlequah to go to Contract Health. Did you have this pre-approved? I was pre-approved. I'm thinking, how do you get that pre-approved? Then they said, well, if you didn't get it pre-approved, you have to come to Hastings. I didn't go to Hastings. I would have bled to death before I got there. So what did they do? The Sequoia Memorial sent me to Mercy. Now I've got to fight all the red tape to go through here to get pre-approved, of which I didn't get pre-approved. Now I got to get after approved to get this taken care of. Never did. You know who paid for that? Me. Because Contract Health said I had to either have it pre-approved or go to the hospital at Tahlequah. That is that is my experience with it. Is it a sore place? Yes, it is. I think that we do need something, a partnership down here with another hospital, or build a place down here, or have something going on down here, urgent care or something where if you have an emergency, you can go there, not have to go all the way to Tahlequah, not have to fight the red tape with Contract Health. Widow.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Goff. We'll now move on to the final candidate for District 6, Mr. Darrell Legg.
Well, I definitely believe in the power of partnerships, and I do think that I would suggest maybe we could sponsor a doctor, but we have a problem finding our doctors to work in our own clinics, you know. But I do believe in partnerships. I think that there could be something that could be worked out with Northeast Health Systems here in Sallisaw. But I too got the same stories of Contract Health, and the current policy is if you end up going somewhere on the weekend or going to an emergency room, you got 72 hours to report it to Contract Health. The clause there is, but then you got to have Brian Warner on speed dial to make sure that it goes through Contract Health, because they act like it's their money, not the people's money, that's fixing our issues. You know, I think sometimes it's maybe the staff or somebody that just, they don't want to deal with the paperwork. But these policies are set in place for us folks. I mean, these are our services that we're supposed to be getting. So definitely, you know, an ambulatory service, we have a nice one there in Cherokee County, the Cherokee Nation EMS. I'd like to see an expansion of that. And if that has to be stationed here somewhere, maybe we could build a shop out here at Redbird Clinic. Maybe we could get our folks transported to where they need to be. And I don't care if it's at Redbird, I don't care if it's at Hastings, I don't care if it's at Fort Smith. But we need to make provisions to get those services paid for. You know, we also have an issue with our Contract Health with once we get a referral and then we go somewhere, 6 months later, all of a sudden you get random bills from Diagnostic something Oklahoma Center that you never even talked to this person because they split up their billing where the billing needs to be a holistic bill where it's paid for through one person and let them divvy it out on their end, besides getting it put on our credit report because we're past due on payments that we never even knew about. Adol.
Thank you, Mr. Legg. We'll now do our last question, and then we'll end with our follow-up. Oh, okay. We'll do a last question, then a break, and then our closing. So we'll start this time with the candidates for Deputy Chief, and we will start with Councilman Warner. Councilman Warner, if you were to win this election and have the opportunity to completely solve one issue during your time in office, what would you want your legacy to be?
Well, that's an interesting question because you talk about a legacy. And for me and for many of my elders, and you know, it's the folks that I visit with daily, it's there is a legacy already established. That's the legacy of our Lord, and that's the one that for me personally, that's the one that I follow, and I want to continue to extend that legacy. If there was an issue for me, I would think that it would be what is your issue at this point? You know, what question do you have? What's important to you? I've often said that I'm committed to the Cherokee individual. that's committed to their community. And I want to be well-rounded because each individual has something that is important to them at that moment, whether it be contract health, whether that be healthcare and doctors, whether that be get my son educated. Can you help me get my daughter into concurrent enrollment? Can you help my nephew get a job? Are there any of these other jobs? All of these things. I was asked a question at one time of, what's the most important department that we have in the Cherokee Nation? Folks, they're all important to us, all at different times. You know, and I look at it as an issue, but, you know, when I think about that question of a legacy, that's pretty easy for me because I just want to continue the legacy that's already been laid in front of us, and to be an individual that comes to you and figures out what's the most important thing to you and how can I help you solve that problem? How can I fix this issue? And for many of us, I know that it's healthcare. For many of us, I know that it's education. I know that it's jobs. Folks, here in Sequoyah County, it's human services. It's those things that we need. It's Indian child welfare. It's foster care. It's all of those things. So for me, I want to be a well-rounded individual. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Warner. We'll now move to Commissioner Fraley. If you were to win this election and have the opportunity to completely solve one issue during your time in office, what would you want your legacy to be?
Legacy is about people. We need to invest widely and deeply in our Cherokee people so that whenever we leave office or whenever we leave this earth, we will have left a people that are self-sufficient. We will have left a government that is self-sufficient so that they don't have to depend on us again. Excuse me, they don't have to depend on us. We want them to be able to support their families, be able to get good jobs, quality jobs. In other words, we want them and our government to be self-sufficient, and you do that by investing in your people.
Ron Goff. Mr. Goff, if you were to win this election and have the opportunity to completely solve one issue during your time in office, what would you want your legacy to be?
My goodness, that's a hard question. One issue for a legacy. Man, you know, when you think about legacy, I go back to what Mayor Fraley is. It's when you leave this earth, that's what you leave behind, is your legacy. You can't take your money with you. You can't take your knowledge with you. You leave your legacy to other people. The legacy should be what they thought of you and what you accomplished. I want my legacy to be, hey, that man accomplished a lot of things for our people. He accomplished language and culture. He helped healthcare. He helped the track. He helped this. The legacy should be something like that. One item, that is very difficult to come down to and say, hey, I want to be up there for the horse track. No, I don't think so. I think there's a lot of other things that's more important than horse track. And if it boils down to some things, I think I want to be able, somebody look back at me and say, he educated our kids. They're the ones who's leading this tribe now. They're the ones. And let them solve some of the problems because they're the ones that's going to be doing this here soon. These kids is in college and university and trade centers is going to be doing all this stuff here pretty soon. So we need to make sure that legacy that we leave behind goes to them and let them foreclose on that. Let them go ahead and keep building on what we leave behind. And some of this stuff, we're just starting. We're just starting some of these things that's going on here. And he's putting up that green sign again. But anyway, but, you know, legacy is really, really tough, guys. You know, one thing, no, I think there's a lot of things that we want to leave behind. And number one thing, I think, is educating our kids. I think that if we educate them, we're going to do well. We're going to do well. We got to get more into education so they can leave their own legacy also. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Goff. We'll now move to Mr. Darrell Legg. Mr. Legg, if you were to win this election and have the opportunity to completely solve one issue during your time in office, what would you want your legacy to be?
Fortunately, I think that I've already left one legacy, and that's the Coming Home Pre-Entry Program. And folks, if y'all don't know my story, I was incarcerated 3 different times. And like I say, I was blessed to be able to make lemonade out of lemons. But the prison reentry program is special to me, and I've been able to pass that on to Matt Lamont, and he's doing a fine job. But the legacy that I would like to work on next, guys, I'm serious, is a long-term adult drug rehab center. This nation has been taken over by the opioid addiction, and it's everybody, guys. It's doctors, it's lawyers, it's our kids, and they get on it innocent. And whatever I could do to stop it or do my part, I promise you I'm going to get in there, and I'm going to do all I can to get a bipartisan, across-the-board vote from all council members and the administration on getting this thing going. I promise you I will. I'm a fighter, and that's going to happen. Adore.
Thank you, Mr. Legg. And now we'll end with Mr. Trad Lattimore.
Legacy is something that you leave behind. That's true. I've spent 26 years educating youth, and that is my legacy, and that is what I want to leave everyone with, is pride and self-worth as a human being, and pride and self-worth at being a part of the Cherokee Nation. I tell my kids every day when they leave the classroom, make the world a better place because you're in it. That is the true thing that makes a difference in the world. You can't buy a car with it, can't buy a house with it, but you can buy pride and self-worth in how you enriched someone else's life in a way that they could not have done for themselves. And I hope in my life that I leave a legacy of pride and hope for the Cherokee Nation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lattimore. We'll now move to the 2 candidates for chief, and we will start this time with Councilman Lay. Councilman Lay, if you were to win the election and have the opportunity to completely solve one issue during your time in office, what would you want your legacy to be?
Well, and there's a whole host of a big range of issues that are coming up for the next chief, and he or she better be on the ball. And so one issue that comes to me is taking care of our kids and our elders, and we can do that in a lot of ways. I mean, if you got the kids and the elders, and if the rest of us are able-bodied, we're supposed to be able to take care of ourselves if we get some job training, get some education. Our kids need a place to sleep, a safe place, something to eat, clothes to go to school on. Our elders, I know my wife and I took over, my wife is a Cherokee citizen, her mom is a Cherokee citizen. We took over her care a couple of years ago after she fell and broke her hip. And what I found was for our elders, when they either go to live with relatives or they go to the rest home, I found that there was a lot of loose ends trying to get the scripts, trying to get the nurses to come and help, and they all did. God bless them. They all picked it up, and they did us a good job. But we kind of dropped the ball a little bit with our elders. Just because they get old and just because they go to the rest home doesn't mean they gave up being Cherokee. They are still Cherokee citizens, and we need to take care of them. They took care of us, and we need to take care of them. If there's one thing, I'm going to take care of the kids and the elders. And if that's a legacy, then so be it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Councilman Lay. And we'll end this question with Secretary Hoskin. If you were to win this election and have the opportunity to completely solve one issue during your time in office, what would you want your legacy to be?
Well, I think without question, I would like my legacy at the end of my time in office to be that I was an effective chief of the Cherokee Nation. That I came into office and saw challenges and built coalitions with the council and brought people together to solve them. That I came into office and saw a healthcare system that had grown but had gaps, didn't have enough doctors and nurses, wait times were too long, and that I marshaled the resources of the Cherokee Nation, the talent of the Cherokee people, and the compassion that we have for our fellow Cherokees and solved that problem. That we inspired a new generation of Cherokee young people to be the doctors and nurses of tomorrow. That I came into office and saw an economy that was getting stronger because of the efforts that Cherokee Nation had made, but that we shifted our attention closer to the rural areas so that these small towns that Cherokees founded generations ago, before there was a state of Oklahoma, don't wither on the vine, that the jobs are there because we put the resources there. That is part of being an effective chief of the Cherokee Nation. I think also that I came into office and saw a language that was slipping through our grasp because we were losing our first language fluent speakers, but that we, again, marshaled the resources to save the language, to make sure that we didn't just save it in Tahlequah, that we spread opportunity throughout the Cherokee Nation to save our precious language. Those, I think, are among the marks of an effective chief of the Cherokee Nation. When I leave office, I will have worked hard to have earned the reputation of having been an effective chief of the Cherokee Nation.
All right, thank you very much, Secretary Hoskin. We'll now take a quick 3-minute break, and we'll come back for our closing.
This is more than a bundle. It's more than a combo deal. It's not just stuff. This is your home, your car. And you want to give them the protection they deserve. With home and auto insurance. State Farm agents get it. It's why they're here.
Talk to State Farm agent Shannon Van in Sallisaw today.
Do you have a project you've needed to get done? Call Allstate Roofing and Construction, specializing in roofing, remodeling, siding, painting, and additions. We are fully insured and licensed. We also give free estimates. Give Allstate Roofing and Construction a call at 479-462-9665 or 918-315-0754 today.
Peters Agency offers Advantage Care Management, home health, and primary care attendant services. Our services to the community are state and nationally certified. We provide medical case management, behavioral health, and Medicare services for the frail, elderly, and disabled in 74 counties in Oklahoma. We plan, obtain, and monitor appropriate services necessary to keep our members safe and independent in their own home. Call Peters Agency today at 775-6555. Care with prayer changes things.
Is this my car?
State Farm knows that for every one of those moments,
This is ridiculous!
there's one of these.
Is this my car? What? This is ridiculous.
This can't be happening!
This can't be happening.
Oh, it's happening, sweetheart.
Oh, it's happening, sweetheart.
Shut up.
Shut up!
That's why State Farm is there, with car insurance for when things go wrong, but also here with car loans to help life go right. State Farm.
Talk to State Farm agent Shannon Van in Sallisaw today.
The earth is our home. It's where we live. It's where our children play. And it's our responsibility to take care of it for future generations. Sue's Recycling and Sanitation is here to help keep our land beautiful. We provide residential and commercial trash service for Sequoyah County. We also offer industrial waste services. Call 918-773-4007 to sign up today.
It's time to relax and do the things you want to do and let Casey Marlatt, CPA, take care of your tax preparation and bookkeeping needs. Call Casey Marlatt, CPA, at 918-775-2983 for more information, or stop by his office at 2329 East Cherokee, Suite 10 in Sallisaw, Oklahoma. That's Casey Marlatt, CPA, for all your tax preparation and bookkeeping needs.
This is more than a bundle. It's more than a combo deal. It's not just stuff. This is your home, your car. And you want to give them the protection they deserve. With home and auto insurance. State Farm agents get it. It's why they're here.
Talk to State Farm agent Shannon Van in Sallisaw today.
It's time to relax and
Yeah, it should end with it. All right. Thank you all very much and welcome back. We will now do our closing statements. You will each have 3 minutes to present your closing statements, and we will start with the District 6 candidates. And this time we will start with Mr. Darrell Legg.
Again, folks, I appreciate y'all coming out tonight. Guys, when we talk about economic development, you know, one of my things I've done is I've brought over 14 major companies to Cherokee Nation. We've created over 9,000 jobs since 2012 as Director of Economic Development, and I've probably sent maybe 2,000 or 3,000 people to trade schools to get their certifications and to go on into employment. Job creation, education, those are things that are dear to my heart no matter what walk of life you are. My main goal in life was to remove barriers to employment, and however we needed to do that as a tribe is what we did. I want to thank Ron. I want to thank Trad. I appreciate the campaign that we have ran. It's been a long 6 months, buddy, and I can't wait till Saturday. And I just appreciate you guys. I appreciate your passion to want to help the people as much as me. I just feel that I'm the most proven out of all candidates, and I don't say that to be bragging, but if we were filling out a resume to get a job, I meet every criteria. And I'm willing and I'm passionate to work for our people, and I don't think that these guys are not, I don't think that they're not eligible at all. I think they're just as eligible. But I've proved myself over and over again throughout the last decade of what I can do for our folks. And this has just become a lifestyle for me. Whether I'm working for the tribe or not, I'm helping the Cherokee people all the time. I get chewed out by my wife to get off my phone over and over again. Usually it's with Brian because I have to pass the buck to him. But there's ways of getting things done, and I know how to network, and I know the map through the maze with Cherokee Nation. I know how to get different programs working together to solve one solution for one person. You know, you may have to pull in human services, you may have to pull in career services to get certain services met, and I just have a knack for that. I have a good relationship with all the executive directors that are currently there. And I would be humble and appreciative to be able to work for you in District 6, and I would appreciate your vote next Saturday. Thank you. Wado.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Legg. We will now move to Mr. Trad Lattimore.
Of course, I would like to have your vote next Saturday, District 6 Tribal Council. I would encourage you to look at the candidates, look at what we stand for, where we've been, what we've done in our lives. I've spent the last 26 years in public service teaching America's young people, and I have served at church. I've served on various councils and boards at school and in church, and I am a conservative. I'll be careful with our money. I'll be fighting for our culture. Heritage is something that's very near and dear to me. When I was in my teens, I knew a lady who was a fluent speaker, and I begged her to teach me. And she would shake her head, too old, too old. Folks, I think we need a culture program in every school in the Cherokee Nation. Every school. It would help the state of Oklahoma, it would help the Cherokee Nation, and it would help us as a culture and as a people. And I would appreciate your vote. Wado.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Lattimore. Now move on to the final candidate for District 6, Mr. Ron Goff.
Well, I'm going to sit up here and try to get your vote, and I'm going to try to get every one of your votes. That's why I'm here. And so every candidate up here is trying to get your vote. I can tell you this, I've been retired for a while. I'm a full-time candidate. I'm accessible. You can call me. I'm here. I'll go to your house. I'll track you down if I have to, if you want to talk to me. So, guys, I'm a full-time candidate. I am a U.S. Navy veteran, Vietnam era. I've been on school boards. I have helped through crises in our schools. And when they had big money crunches, we figured out ways to take care of those things. Culturally, I am culturally inclined. I've been taught that way. I was raised that way. Redbird Smith Health Center is my great-granddad. He was chief of the Catawbas. My granddad was chief of the Catawbas. And the person that mentored me raised me was chief of the Catawbas. I've been out there all my life. I understand Cherokees. I understand the old-time Cherokees. I've been around them all my life, guys. And I've been around business all my life. I've been in business for almost 50 years. So I do understand business. I've been in two different types of business sometimes. So I'm up here soliciting your vote because I feel like I'm qualified too. I'm as qualified as anybody up here in a lot of different ways, maybe more so in a lot of ways. Language, there's several different ways. Teaching words is not going to get it. Teaching language, words is not going to, you got to teach conversational language in Cherokee because it's not the same as our language. Just like if I was asking you for a drink of water in our language, you say, "Ama awaduli." You say, "Water, I want it." That's the way you say it. You don't say, "I need a drink." So there's conversational language and there is words. So, you know, we got to have immersion classes in everywhere. We got to have culture teaching. There's a lot of cultures you don't understand out here that goes back to our grounds, our ceremonial grounds. Without our ceremonial grounds, Cherokee Nation would be nothing, because that's where we all came from. Originally, every one of us came from a cultural ceremonial ground. If you didn't, your ancestors did. Does that make sense, guys? That makes sense, don't it? It makes sense. That's where your ancestors came from. That's where your heritage come from. That's where your culture come from. And Cherokee Nation may be losing a lot of this through the process of being a nation, but without that ceremonial grounds, we are nothing, because that's where we all came from. All of you came from the same place. If you're Cherokee, I don't care how much you are, if you're 132nd or you're a full blood, some of your ancestors came from that cultural ground. Donut Ago. If you don't know what that means till we meet again.
Thank you very much, Mr. Goff. We'll now move to the two candidates for Deputy Chief, and we will start this time with Commissioner Fraley.
Once there was a great Cherokee Nation, and we believed in the law. We adopted our own Constitution. We built a Supreme Court building. We built a National Capitol building, a prison, and 9 courthouses, and only one remains today, and that's Saline. We've always valued education. We were at one time 90% literate in our language. We held land in common. Everyone had a home, and there was no debt. It would be good to go back to that. You know, we suffered two trails of tears. In 1838-39, we lost 4,000 of our 16,000 citizens over the 850-mile death march to Indian Territory in the middle of winter. We suffered an economic trail of tears whenever half of our people left Oklahoma for Texas and California looking for jobs. And I say all that to show that we're a strong, resilient, and intelligent people. Today we have a duty, a responsibility, and an obligation to carry on those gifts that we've been given from our ancestors. We need to give those gifts to our children. And as leaders, we don't turn back. We leave no one behind. Every citizen is important. We lift up each other. We draw strength from our victories and we learn from our mistakes. But we keep our eyes on that distant horizon where our people become satisfied with their own personal achievement, foster happy families, and strong and supportive communities, and a vibrant tribal government. As leaders, we must provide the environment of Gadugi, where everybody works toward a common goal, where we all work together as individuals, as families, as communities, as part of the solution for a better quality of life for today and future generations, and we make our government sustainable as well as a government that stands out for each and every one of us. And I would appreciate your consideration of me as your deputy chief. I have the ability to work with just about everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Fraley, and we will now go to Councilman Warner.
Thank you, Marley. Well, I'd like to, once again, thank KXMX, Sequoyah County Times, ICTC for having us here, and thank you for each one of you that are here in the audience and at home listening. It's been an honor to serve as District 6 Councilman. Thank you, Sequoyah County, not just District 6, but the entire county for raising me. Thank you, and thank you for giving me the values that I have to each one of the families that touched my life. It's been wonderful, and one of the things that a lot of the elders talk about when we, how we handle our meetings and how we do things, we have to have principles that guide us. And each individual that is on that council or within that administration has to buy into those principles, has to adhere to those principles, even when it's tough. And I think that's what it's all about, being a balanced, grounded leader. And you don't get there by yourself. You don't, and we've talked tonight about the county, and it's been so awesome to be committed to the individual Cherokees that are in the county, because I think we have a lot of things going in the right direction. Is there correction needed? Absolutely. Is there more that we can do? Absolutely. When we at Carl Albert State College and we sit around with the folks that are in administration and everything, we talk about institutional effectiveness and assessment. You know, that's what do you do, how do you do it, and how can you improve? And I think that's important as we become leaders in any entity, and especially in the Cherokee Nation, that we remain on point with what we want to do. We remain within those principles that guide us. We remain grounded. We stay balanced between logic and emotion. That way we can make the decisions and we can listen with discernment, because that's what the individuals want. They want that someone that will listen to them and help them. And I've often said throughout many campaign speeches that I can't get up here and make a bunch of promises, but I can promise you one thing, and that's my commitment. And I hope that everyone in District 6 understands what my level of commitment is and what that means. And the folks at Carl Albert, where I work currently, and my family, that when I commit to something, when I took that oath of office back in August of 2015, that, that I was committed to the office of Tribal Council, to the Cherokee Nation Constitution, and more importantly, to the individual Cherokee Nation, all under God, all girded in love. And folks, that love, we have to love one another. We have to remember that we are connected, neighbor to neighbor, heart to heart. And I think that's what leadership is all about. And I'm prepared. I understand the things that we're going out to do, and you've got to have a good team. And I'm so thankful for my running mate, and I'm so thankful for each one of you. God bless, and may you continue to be blessed to be a blessing.
All right, thank you very much, Councilman Warner. We'll now move on to the candidates for chief for their closing statements, and we'll start this time with Secretary Chuck Hoskin.
Well, and I appreciate the forum being held here. I appreciate the Sequoyah County Times, 105, and ICTC for being a host. This is an important election. The Cherokee Nation is great. The Cherokee people are a great people. They have a great decision to make on June the 1st. They'll be choosing the chief of the Cherokee Nation. They'll be choosing the person who will, on day one, face a number of challenges and who needs to be effective. Now, I'm proud of my record of service to the Cherokee people I got into public service because I thought I had something to offer the Cherokee people. I thought there was something that I could contribute to make our nation better, to serve the Cherokee people, and I'm proud of my service, proud of the time that I served on the Council of the Cherokee Nation, proud of my last 5 years as Secretary of State of the Cherokee Nation. I think that experience will help me be an effective chief. I think it'll also help me be an effective chief that I'm raising a Cherokee family in a Cherokee community. And I'm so glad that my wife and daughter are here with me today. When you're raising a family, I think it is a good measure of how you'll be as a leader. Families have to deal with ups and downs. Families have to deal with challenges, and families are looking not just a week ahead or a month ahead, but they're looking a lifetime ahead. They're looking generations ahead for their children and grandchildren. And that's what I think the Cherokee people expect out of their chief, someone who will look at the problems we have today and work to solve them, but will always keep an eye on generations ahead. That's what the chief of the Cherokee Nation ought to do. The Cherokee people will need a chief who can effectively advocate and defend their interest in Washington, D.C. They'll need a chief that can defend their interest and advocate for their interest at the state capitol. They will need a chief that works in the communities to not only talk about what issues the chief thinks is important, but to listen to the people and find out what they think is important. All of those things are things that I've done as Secretary of State in particular. I've been to Washington, D.C. I can protect our interest. I've been to Oklahoma City. I can protect our interest. And I have worked in Cherokee communities. And I have found out so much about what are the strengths of our nation, what our challenges are. I know that we can do more on health care in particular, reducing patient wait times. I know we have an opportunity to develop the economy in the Cherokee Nation, particularly focus on the rural areas so that these small towns that we've called home will be there for our children and grandchildren. I've also worked in communities and found out the challenges we have on preserving our language and our culture, and I have worked in those areas. So what I ask the Cherokee people is to look at experience, look at effective leadership, look at what the challenges are and decide who is best equipped to take on those challenges. I know that I can do the job. I know that I'm prepared to lead. I know in particular with my running mate, Brian Warner of Sequoyah County, I can be an effective chief. Wado.
Thank you very much, Secretary Hoskin. We'll end with Councilman Lay.
And thank you for putting on the forum. We really appreciate it. My name is Dick Lay. I'm married to Phyllis. She is a Cherokee citizen. If you elect me, you will have a Cherokee First Lady. And most of the people, I think, on this board, maybe all but one, have met her. And she's put up with me for 51 years, so I can't be all bad. You know, she's a very nice lady. The next chief is going to have a lot of issues. Compact's coming up in 2020. The next chief's going to have a lot of issues. Our health care is being revamped, and we've built all these buildings. Now we need to find the docs and the nurses and the APRNs and so on and so forth. Right now, when I have an opening in one of my clinics, it takes 1.5 years to fill them for a doc. That's not good. That's not good enough for me. I don't think it's good enough for you. We need to look at our organizational chart at the top end of the health department. It's been the same since I've been there. I've been there 8 years. I bet it's the same 8 years before that. We're going to have to go over that org chart. We're going to have to realize that leadership means that we can't have 7 executive medical directors in 8 years. That's not leadership. That's a failure. And it's being felt out in the communities. When you lose your doc, the best doc you ever had, and you lose him or her, how does it feel? Just because we don't treat them well and we don't pay scale. Those are the 2 biggest issues. I've served as well as I can serve in 8 years on the council. I've helped create several new clinics, the satellite clinics. I've helped create 2 community buildings. If you go to my people and ask them what they think of me, they thought of me almost as a 70% winner the last time I ran for council. I'd like to do the same thing with Chief. I think I can lead this nation. I think we need someone who won't want to control or buy the council. I think that you will never see me run an LLC where hundreds of thousands of dollars go from campaign funds go in as miscellaneous. That will never happen with me. I'll work with the council. I'm going to bring them in. They're not going to have to stand out there and wait for me. They're going to be asked to come in quite often because they've got ideas that I may not have. And I'm going to surround us with the best and brightest people in every department and get things done. God bless you all. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
This concludes our forum tonight. I want to thank ICTC once again for allowing us to be in their building. I want to thank the candidates for being here. In the 180 plus years the Cherokees have been in now Oklahoma, there's probably not a better or more important time of the influence of the nation through our local communities and our state. The politics nationally and state level have set it up that way, and the Cherokee Nation's found itself in an interesting spot. It's extremely important to all of us that live in Sequoyah County that we have a Cherokee Nation that's very effective, and I appreciate the leaders coming here today to talk to us about what could be. So thank you all very much, and have a great night.
This is more than a bundle. It's more than a combo deal. It's not just stuff. This is your home, your car. And you want to give them the protection they deserve. With home and auto insurance. State Farm agents get it. It's why they're here.
Talk to State Farm agent Shannon Van in Sallisaw today.
Do you have a project you've needed to get done? Call Allstate Roofing and Construction, specializing in roofing, remodeling, siding, painting, and additions. We are fully insured and licensed. We also give free estimates. Give Allstate Roofing and Construction a call at 479-462-9665 or 918-315-0754 today.